people on our side, and by that I mean conservative Christian America by and large, have one of ours attacked, and then they pursue our spaces to honor the dead and celebrate, that tells us, oh, there are too many.
So you think because of this, you think we're trending towards some kind of civil war, civil conflict?
I can tell you this, I have a pretty large sample size.
I would hope we wouldn't be pushing towards a civil war. I would genuinely hope that. And the reason I hope that is because I believe that most Americans have very similar desires and wants.
First up, here's Jacob. Hey Jake, nice to meet you, sir. Grab a seat. And do you mind moving in so I can hear a little bit?
I don't mind.
Don't get cozy. Come on, move on in. So, Jacob, you prefer Jake?
Jacob's good.
Okay. I don't know how familiar you are with this segment or this kind of piece of content, what we do. Let me explain to you first what it's not.
Sure.
And I mean this genuinely. It's not gotcha. It's not designed for reels, clips, dunks, owned. Our conversation will be uploaded in its entirety. The ideal scenario is that we actually have a productive civil discussion. That's not always possible.
I mean, that's what I would like. So.
Yeah, okay, good. And the premise today is, and I would assert, that predominantly the left is responsible for a large portion of the political violence in this country and the tenor and tone to a point that I think needs to be dealt with, or certainly at least conversationally. That's not to say that there isn't political violence across the board, but again, predominantly coming from the left. And if you disagree with me, you are more than welcome to change my mind. If you wouldn't mind, just when we start.
So this video's premise is about the left being predominantly violent. And he's going to college campuses, the same thing Charlie Kirk used to do, and talking to people about these things. I love these type of videos because it allows your real life thoughts to be debated against other people in real time. There's no editing to it. There's no like researching information halfway through between it. It's like your thoughts versus my thoughts. His is the left is violent. Let's see what he has to say about this, and let's see what the young man says about this. Let's go.
I just want to make sure that we go through right here the definition, and just if you agree to the definitions of political violence from The Economist and Cato. So in effect, the idea
I'm not sure if I understand this definition. So
okay, and we're using this because these are often the numbers that are being cited right now from The Economist, the TPP project, and Cato. Basically, violence committed in the name of or as a political means to an end. Right?
Even if it's just a complaint or an indictment and they haven't been convicted or it hasn't been confirmed.
Political violence, acts of violence being committed. Right? I understand too if there are charges, convictions are different, but we agree as far as in principle political violence. For example, I don't know how you vote, but let's say you vote Democrat and you hit and run today.
Okay.
That's not political violence just because you vote Democrat, right?
Of course.
But if you were to go run someone over because they are a Republican or vice versa, that would be political violence. Do we agree?
I agree with that.
Okay. And on that premise, I believe it's predominantly coming from the left, and you are welcome to change my mind or tell me where you disagree.
Sure. So I guess I just want to first ask, obviously, the Charlie Kirk thing is massive. I'm not super familiar with what other acts of political violence have occurred recently. Maybe you could tell me, because other than the Charlie Kirk assassination, I don't know what else has occurred.
Right up the road here, ICE, people were shot. 3 were shot, 1 was killed at an ICE facility, done in the name of anti-fascism. There were bomb threats at another ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas.
Well, that's why I asked about the complaint. So is it political violence to threaten something if there were bomb threats? Does that count as political violence?
We would have to, well, I would say this. We'd have to apply the same standard to both, right?
Okay.
So I'm just using examples according to the standard where right-wing political violence has been included. I understand in the ideal, right, you'd be going through a conviction. Right. But for example, let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that someone walked up to somebody in the street and said, "Are you a Trump voter?" And the person said, "Yes." He said, "You're a Trump voter? Are you sure?" Bang, bang, shot him, killed him, point blank, and then said, "I got him, I got the Trump voter," and then was shot by the police. We would still consider that political violence if there's documentation of that, right, on camera?
Sure.
Okay. So you would agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm just...
Okay, I want you to watch this because this, he just says...
One thing I like about Steven Crowder so far is that the first thing he did was explain his premise. He explained exactly where he's coming from. He said, this is political violence. We're operating within this frame. This is what's happening. And honestly, so far, he's pretty right. I've never seen, at least that I've seen, and I'm sure it's happened before, people getting attacked attacked for being leftist. I've never even heard of that, if I'm being real with you. But I've obviously seen threats against the right for supporting conservative beliefs. Although I know people have been attacked for being leftist before, what I'm saying is that it's very rare relative to people getting attacked for being conservative in today's time.
It's in Portland.
That's obviously terrible.
Yeah, that was Aaron Danielson, and that was a Mr. Michael Rhino in Portland. That wasn't listed according to the current stats as political violence because the police shot him before there was a guilty conviction.
Okay.
We would agree, though, that's political violence, right?
I would agree, based on what you're telling me. And
Yeah.
again, I just want to clarify.
Sure.
What you're saying is these acts of political violence are done disproportionately by the left compared to the right.
As a method, yes.
Okay. I mean, maybe I don't disagree with that. I mean, the sign out front just said the left is violent,
Sure.
which I don't agree with, especially as a whole. I mean, I think there are a lot more incidents of peaceful protest and moderate and people who are on the left who, I mean, it's a very, very small, isolated segment, and we're talking about.
But what if you were wrong about that?
What if I was wrong that most people who lean left or are on the left
Are peaceful? What if I were to tell you that a majority of today's political left view violence against either political adversaries, people of political persuasions, as acceptable, as somewhat to complete? What if it's over 62%? Somewhat to completely acceptable. What if those on the left actually support political violence at a ratio of 5 to 8 to 12 to 1 to conservatives? What if that was a fact? It doesn't mean that you are, but it, again, would be reflective of the whole of the left, much more so than the right.
If that was a fact, it would support what you're saying, and not trying to say that doesn't exist. I mean, I would be skeptical if I saw something as to what you said. I think 62%. I think there's no way that 62% of people who vote left, who believe left, support violence. Have I seen instances? You know,
it's a recent YouGov poll. YouGov, not a conservative poll. 77% of self-identified conservatives said political violence is unacceptable always. Okay.
Only 77.
77. Only 38% of leftists. 62% answered somewhat to completely acceptable. Some answered I don't know. And then there was another snap poll before that had again at a ratio of 6 to 1 self-identified liberals supporting political violence in comparison to conservatives. It doesn't mean you or all, but if we're comparing those demographics, it is stark, it is consistent. I could point you to another one after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Over 60% of the left said it is somewhat to completely acceptable.
I mean, again, I'd love to, see these polls, and if those are representative, I totally agree with you. I don't think it's okay to support political violence. I'm honestly a little shocked at how low.
Yeah, I want to see those polls too. However, if those polls are true, then the statement the left is more politically violent than the right is just an objectively accurate statement. Not saying that I want that to be the case, but the statement would just be accurate regardless. See, when I get online, I'm not going to sit here and play games with y'all and give off my opinion. Oh, I don't want that to be. No. If 60% say so, then that's just what it is. But let's continue.
The conservative, like if only 77%, I would have think it'd be like 99%.
Yeah, you think it'd be 99% of the left according to your premise, right? But it's 38.
That is what I would think, and it's not been my experience that most people who are on the left who support political violence. I will say, and this has troubled me, is I have seen members of the left support, for example, Hamas. I have seen members of the left not condemn Charlie Kirk assassination, or who have spoken out as being happy about it. I just don't think that is a majority of the population. I would be very curious to see these polls, but that's not been my experience. And
so someone, one second, can we have the QR, because we actually have a QR code so you can see all the sources.
That'd be great.
Yeah, great. They should have had that earlier.
I can look at this later. I mean, we're just here.
No, but I want to give it to you so you can access it. And by the way, I do think, just to be clear, I think that your heart is in the right place, and I think you're honest in that this is your perspective because you probably think it's abhorrent, as I do, political violence.
Right.
And here's why we're having this conversation, okay? For example, see, we have bulletproof glass and basically a small platoon here.
Yeah, it's scary.
I can imagine it is. But before this last event, people would have argued it's unnecessary. And we've had to take increasing security measures. I can tell you that the reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time, there was some serious violent action carried out. There were rocks thrown, concrete milkshakes, people trying to slash tires, Molotov cocktails, and no one would listen. There's a reason that Charlie Kirk had security before he was assassinated, right? There are a lot of close calls, and you saw the one that got through. And the rhetoric was always, you're fine, until you shed blood.
Look, I completely agree. I mean, there's definitely extreme political violence. I've seen it happen. The whole country just saw it happen. I just think
But can I just finish that one point?
That the entire left is violent.
No, the left is violent as an ideology and as a majority, which you'll see with the stats that I present to you. But here's the thing, and this is a genuine concern. There's no off-ramp here. Let me explain to you what I mean. I think we both want to avoid any type of civil war or serious conflict, right? We both do.
I don't think we're close to that.
I'll tell you why I think it could be in the cards within the next decade. Okay, and I've not said this before these last 2 years. There was only one off-ramp when the left, a member of the left, assassinated Charlie Kirk in cold blood in the name of political leftism, of radical trans ideology leftism, right? Justified it through Charlie Kirk being hateful, which he's not, him being prejudiced, which he's not. The only off-ramp would have been if the leadership on the left, and if the majority of the left said, hey, look, this has gone too far. We've labeled these people fascists, Nazis, racists, genocidists because of their trans policy. And my God, some people out there are actually believing it. We're sorry, let's tone it down. Instead, there was a very surprising, gleeful celebration thereafter. And you can say not all the left, but every single vigil, every single memorial, every single mural that was put up was desecrated, spit on. There were assaults from the left when people on our side, and by that I mean conservative Christian America by and large, have one of ours attacked, and then they pursue our spaces to honor the dead and celebrate. That tells us, oh, there are too many.
So you think because of this, you think we're trending towards some kind of civil war, civil conflict?
I can tell you this, I have a pretty large sample size, and this would be anecdotal in addition to the empirical.
I would hope we wouldn't be pushing towards a civil war. I would genuinely hope that, and the reason I hope that is because I believe that most Americans have very similar desires and wants. I think that most of us are the same. I really do, in terms of the way we want to live our life. Obviously, there are people who have extremely radical beliefs that are just insane. I'm going to be honest. They're just crazy. And I hope those people don't push everyone else over the edge. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Steven Crowder on this? Like, do you think that we're edging towards that? And honestly, this student is really confusing me because he doesn't seem like he knows much about, I guess, any of the topics when it comes to this. But let me know what you guys think.
Since COVID, I would say that's number 2. I never saw more people change their political persuasion outside of COVID in my lifetime. People who were self-identified liberals who couldn't send their kids to school, right? They thought, okay, it's going too far. I've never had more people reach out and say, I was so shocked at the celebration and justification, the assassination of Charlie Kirk from who I thought were moderate liberal friends, that I've had to delete them from social media. I can't be included amongst them. There's an exodus taking place because of the reaction. And you can't point me to an example like that on the right. It doesn't exist.
Look, I mean, you're making good points. I don't see how this is leading to civil war, but I totally agree with what you're saying. I've seen people have the exact reaction that you're discussing. I think it's wrong. In my experience from anecdotal evidence, that's why I'm curious to see the empirical studies, I don't think that represents a majority of the left. The incidents you're talking about memorials being desecrated,
and you've seen it, right?
I've seen it, but this isn't coming from like the Democratic leaders. Like this isn't coming from the majority of...
Sure it is.
I wouldn't say you're saying Democratic leaders.
Yeah, let me explain to you. Charlie Kirk was killed because people actually believed that he was a fascist. And Gavin Newsom just said it about the Republican Party and Stephen Miller not more than 24 hours ago.
So you would blame the leaders for saying these
I would
things?
I would say they're responsible. If they are going to say that Donald Trump's rhetoric is responsible for Black Lives Matter, which preceded him by 2 to 3 years under Barack Obama, I certainly would say the ongoing rhetoric from the left that Republicans and Donald Trump are racist, that they are fascist, comparing them to Nazis, Hitler, that they are genocidists because they don't believe that children should I think that rhetoric, because let me ask you this, the people who've committed this violence, for example, right here at ICE, Charlie Kirk, right, Antifa, this man you just saw, they believe that Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump are fascists. If that's true, how do you deal with fascists? If half the country believes that we're fascists, how do you deal with fascists? You can't do it at the ballot box.
Let me break this down one at a time, because that was a lot.
Okay.
First thing, I think you can't 100% blame people for the things that they say, inciting violence. People have their own agency and their own decision making.
No, they campaign on them. It's the DNC campaign platform. It's
some
fascism, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom, you can't name one. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. Fascism, comparisons to Hitler. They say that we want to oppress blacks. They say we want to erase trans people.
I mean, I've seen it happen. It happens occasionally. I don't think the majority of Democratic leaders say this or believe this, and even some of the ones who do maybe not believe it. But if we're just talking about rhetoric,
but what if they all do? What if they all do?
If we're talking about rhetoric being dangerous and inciting violence, I mean, I think the right shares some blame in that too. I don't think the right is completely without blame for speaking poorly of the other side. I mean, Donald Trump is certainly not the the idol or the model of manners, or not being.
Manners are different from labeling your opposition as fascists who won't relinquish the reins of power. Ergo, you need a violent revolution.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
My point is, yes, some Democratic leaders have said things, have called other people fascists, have called them racist. Some people on the right as well have said things about members on the left. Called them communists, have called them socialists, similar type of rhetoric. And I don't think it's
similar.
I don't think it's right to blame the leaders for violent acts that a small minority of extreme supporters.
No, I think it's 100% right. Here's my problem with this statement. People want to give leaders all the credit in the world. When something good happens, yay, the leader, he's the leader of this good cause. He did this good thing. But when something terrible happens, oh, don't blame the leader. The leader had nothing to do with this. Although they said this. Nah, I'm not letting that slide, bro. And yes, of course, the right. Bro, in America, there's a two-party system. Both sides have led to wherever we are now. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's just the truth. Both sides obviously played a part. We don't have an authoritarian government where one side just controls everything. Both sides work together. However, one side can be more dominant than the other side. It could be true that the conservative side, in your eyes, led to a lot of violence or a lot of wrongdoing. But also, the statement was that the left is violent. That's the statement. You haven't really refuted this statement. Your whole thing is just trying to all lives matter. This is say, yeah, the left is violent. They did call people racist and fascist and extremists. And they do call for violence often on social media. However, the right is not to. The right has played a part in this too. No. That's not the statement, bro. The statement is that the left is violent, and you haven't really acknowledged the statement. But let me know what you guys think about this video. My name is Jojo, and I'll see you in the next video.